Okay, so now, as usual, so please launch your Eclipse, and then we'll create a new project for today's lab. Okay, select your workspace, and then we'll create a new Java project. Okay, so now let's go to, okay, let me just, by the way, sometimes if you want to close all the tabs on Eclipse, what you can do is right-click on the tab. You can say either close all the tabs or close everything except for the current one. Okay, there are many options for you, so you might find them useful when you use the Eclipse. Okay, so now let's create a new Java project. File, new Java projects. Okay, let's just follow our naming convention. So we'd say CSE114 Spring 16, and then Week01, and then Lab number 2. Okay, let's do that. So now I have the project here. So now let's just create a new class, and then I'll try to explain to you what we're working on today. So today we'll work on, first of all, values in Java. So values, so there are two kinds of values we're going to focus on today. So string values and also numbers. So numbers are exactly the numbers you use in mathematics. So that's actually an easy part. We'll deal with that a little later. Let's first deal with strings. We have seen some strings already. Remember last time we actually said hello world. You actually have a pair of double quotes, and whatever you put inside, if you put a print statement around. And this part, whatever that's inside the quotes, will be printed to the console verbatim, right? So that's something called a string. So you usually use the string values in Java when you want to output some messages to the console. Okay, for example, if you recall on Monday's lecture, when I was demonstrating the tic-tac-toe game, so you can see everything on the console basically is a string. Okay, so string is very important to master. That was quick, that's good. Okay, so let's just try some example here. So over there, you can see the definition for string values. You can read the definition when you go home. But basically, you have to put a sequence of characters inside the double quotes. Okay, so each character can either be A, B, C, D, E, or it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, anything that can be entered by your keyboard is a character. So a special character could be maybe a space. So remember, we actually said student Korea. So you might say student, and then with a space, and then Korea, possibly with more spaces after that. So all of them will be output to the console. Okay, let's just do some example, and then we'll see how we can manipulate the strings. So let's create a new class, new, and then class. So let's see what the handout says. So the task will be to create a new class called string values. So string values. Okay, so for now, every time when you create a new class, you will need a main method, which means we're going to run the class as a Java application. And every time if you want to run the class as a Java application, you do need a main method. So that's a rule in Java. Okay, but later on when we talk about classes and objects, this rule will be broken. But let's not worry about that yet. Okay, so just check the box over here to say we do want a main method to be created with the class together. So you say finish over here. So now you can feel free to get rid of the empty lines if you like. But you can see that somehow we have a class called string values, okay? And we also have a main method. So you certainly don't have to worry about anything like public, static, void, string, strings, okay, and also the brackets there, and everything else. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, in the quiz that's coming, I'm actually going to give you everything here, so nothing for you to memorize. Okay, let's do the simplest one just to review. So now, why don't we do just system.out.println? Okay, that's sort of the, there's only one thing for you to actually know how to write system.out.println. But in the quiz, I think I also provide this line to you, so you don't really have to memorize, but it's just convenience. Okay, let's just try different thing. What about just try a string with a single character? How about that? Okay, a single character. And as usual, you can put a comment just to remind yourself what you're doing. So there are two ways to do the comments in Java. If your comments last for just one line, you can use double slash. If your comment is going to last for multiple lines, you can use the slash star. I'm going to show you both. So let's say we're only going to have one line. So you would say output a string containing a single character. Okay, and this single character here is A. Okay, so now let's see what happens. Okay, if you try to run this program here, and again to do that, you would say right-click, and then run as Java application, and then if you maximize the console, you'll see just A. Right? That's very easy, just like Hello World. So now, let's say I would like to do a slightly more complicated string, slightly more. Let's say I would like to see in the console, let's say A, B, and C. Okay, so A, B should be on the same line, and C should be the next line. How can we do that? Okay, I want to show you different ways of doing it. So that's how we play with the print statements. Okay. Let me show you the easiest way. So because A, B, they should be on the same line, you can simply say A, B, right? So you can simply say A, B here. If you simply just run the program, again, there should be no reason that you cannot do it. If you simply do it, if you say run as Java application, it's going to show you AB. So AB on the same line, right? But we are not done yet. We actually need C in the next line. Okay, how do we do that? Very easy. You just need another print statement, right? To actually print just to another line. Okay, to do that, so now I can say system.out.println and C. Okay, so now let's run it. There's a shortcut for you, since if every time you just have to right click and say run as Java application, it's not so convenient. Let's say if you're going to keep running the same class as Java application over and over, you can see that there's a play button here, over here. You would say run. It's going to run the last execution you made. Okay, if I click on that, it's going to give me ABC. Right? You can also do that. But you got to make sure the one you're running now is really the one you want to run. Okay, that's so that's the catch. Any questions so far? No? Okay. I hope I'm not going too fast. No? Okay, good. Okay, so now this is the easiest way to do it. Let me show you one thing. So there is a subtle difference between print and print line. So here you actually have system. It's also explained in the handout. System.out.print and also system.out.print line. So ln here stands for line, LND. Okay. So you will also find this very useful when you do your assignments, when you print out your messages. So the different subtle one is very clear to see. So this, compared with this, the only difference is we're going to put a new line after whatever message we're going to print out. A new line is like an enter. Okay, so let me show you. So now let's compare these two. Let me just copy these two lines. Okay. And now rather than saying A, B, C, I'm going to say D, E, and F. Okay. But now I'm going to put the first one as print rather than print line. Okay. Can you kind of guess what's going to happen from running these two lines?
Can be on the same line.
On the same line, okay. It's going to be D, E, F rather than A, D, E, enter, F, right? So that's really the difference between print and print line. Let's try. Yeah, exactly. You can see A, B, and C. So A, B on the same line, C in the next line, because they're both print line statements. But now, because D, E is a print, and that means there's no new line after that. So that's why F will go immediately after that. Okay, that's just some very simple example to show you the difference. So whether to use print or print line is completely up to your need. So sometimes you may want the message to appear on the same line, sometimes you may not want to. Okay, that's about the difference between print and print line. And now let's do another thing. So now, okay, let me put the comments for you. So now this time the comments might be a little bit long, so I'm going to put another version of writing the comments. It's going to be / star, and some comments here, and star, and comments, and sorry, star, and the / again. Okay, it's going to be a pair. Put enter. So now you can put comments here. So you can say that after DE, you can put a string quote here. There is no new line. Okay, and enter here. So F will follow DE. Yeah, something like that. I'm just reminding myself what I'm trying to do. As you can see, the comments here last for more than one line. That's why I'm using just another style of writing the comments. You can choose either one yourself. Okay. Okay, so now let's go on and see what we can do. So now let me just show you another way of writing A, B, and C. Just another way. Okay. As you can see in line number 5 over there, we try to put the character A and B inside the same quote. Okay. There is another way to do it. Let me show you how you can do it. Let me show you first, and then I'll explain. There's something called concatenation. So I actually spelled the word in the handout. You can also see that. It's an important word to learn. Concatenation simply means you want to put one string after the other. Okay, let me do that. System.out print line. Okay, you can say A followed by B. Okay, and then the next line will just be the same. I'm claiming that this lines 14 and 15, they're going to output exactly the same message as lines 5 and 6. Okay, you can see specifically compare line 14 and line number 4. Sorry, line number 5. Sorry, line number 5. You can see line number 5 there, we simply put A, B inside the same quote. But in line number 14, we actually put A inside the same inside one quote, and B inside another pair of quotes. And then we use the plus to combine them together. So this combination is called concatenation. So that's the word I use in the handouts. Okay, this will also work. Okay. So sometimes you might find that if your line is actually too long, you don't want to put all the words inside the same pair of quotes. So you can simply use, you can separate the words into different quotes and then use a plus to combine them together. Okay, that's just another way to do it. Okay, let's double check. Okay, let me just put up some comments for you here. We use concatenation to produce the same outputs. Again, I can use / the same outputs as lines 5 and 6. Okay, so comments like that. Okay, let's run the program and see. Okay, you can see here we got A, B, C. Here we also got A, B, C. Okay, let me show you one more possibility of writing this. One more. And okay, so now we use print and print line to produce the same output as lines 5 and 6. Okay, so now this time we're going to use a little bit different tricks. Let me copy this part here. Remember I said before, if we simply use the print rather than print line, we're actually not going to hit any enter after that, right? There's no new line. So what we can do is the following. So let's say print, and then after that we say system dot out dot print b. Do you think this is correct or not? Am I going to get, so based on lines 21, 22, and 23, am I going to get the outputs AB on the same line and then C on the second line? Yes or no? Okay, you might know exactly the answer, so can I just hold you? Okay. Anyone else? Give it a try. If you think that's yes, just say yes. If you don't think so, just say no. You say no? Why?
First of all, there's no new line after A, so B's gonna come after A.
But we shouldn't get any new lines. You can see that's the expected output, right? We wouldn't expect any new line after the A.
And then after B, there's no new line either, so
where should there be a new line?
Come after B.
So where should be a new line? After B or after A?
A new line should come after C. So all the A, B, and C's come in the same line.
Okay, so currently the output would be A, B, C on the same line. So how should we fix that?
Either you put line, change print to print element for the output B.
For B, you mean line 22 over there. Okay, very good. So let's, first of all, let's check that this is not the right answer first before we fix it. Okay, so now if you try to run this program here, so exactly, so now you can see A, we print A, and you can see it's print rather than print line. So you're gonna have A without any new line, and then you're gonna have B, and then without any new line, you're gonna have C, and then a new line. Okay, it's a bit tricky, but it just takes some time to get used to it. So now you can see now we simply get ABC, right? So that's not exactly what we want. So what we really want is a new line after AB, right? So the fix would be very easy. We only have to change the this part here, right? To say because AB should be in the same line. So that's why after A, we should need a new line. But after B, we do need a new line. Okay, so now if you run it, you're going to have something like that. Okay, you can see now we got ABC version 3, ABC version 2, and ABC version 1. Okay, I'm just showing you 3 different versions of writing exactly the same output to the console. Yeah, just play with them and then get a feel how you can use print and print line. Yeah, and also how you can use the plus operator for strings. They should be quite straightforward, I hope. Any questions before I move on? No? No? Okay, good. So that's sort of the very easy example. So you can see that in the handouts over there, I also give you another example. You can see the string values there. Give you different versions for SUNY Korea. You see SUNY Korea 1, SUNY Korea 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay? So maybe I'll leave that as homework for you. Just give them a try. Okay? And just to convince yourself the output is really what's shown over there at the bottom there on page 2. Okay? Okay, I'll leave that to you. So everything's there, but if you got any trouble, just talk to me. So we can move on to numbers. Okay, any questions? Are you fine? Okay, yes. Questions? Yes. Oh, 2 slashes. Okay, good. So the 2 slashes means it's like a comments. Okay, let me show you. So console here. So whenever you write any Java program here, so whenever you see slash, you can see the color is also different, right? It's actually green rather than just black on the Java code. So this means this line here is only for us as a programmer to read. It is not going to be compiled into machine code for execution. Yeah. So it's only for your documentation, let's say. Yeah. So I would say when you're doing any exercises or for doing assignments, it's always a good practice to write some good comments to actually remind yourself. Or sometimes you might have some group partners to actually work on the software together. So if you pass your Java code to your partner, for them to understand your code, the best way you can rely on your source code would be to look at your comments, right? So that's really a good practice to maintain. And there are two styles of writing the comments. Maybe either you can say // or you can actually put your comments within /* and also */. Okay, so there are different ways of doing it. Yeah, so it's completely up to you which way you would like to go. Okay, so now let's move on to numbers, which is slightly more fun. Okay, but later on we're actually going to combine numbers and strings together. Okay, and then on Friday I'm going to show you even more values. Okay, but today we'll focus on just the simple ones, just strings and simple numbers. Okay. So now we're going to first of all create a new class. So let's call that numerical values. Okay, so you can say right click and then new class. Let's call that numerical values. So now we are on page 2, section 1.2, in case you are looking. So numerical values, and you can click on the box for the main method here, and then say finish. Okay, so that's the second class for today. Okay, so let's see what we should do. In some way, the numbers are actually very easy. The way you write numbers in Java is exactly the same way that you write numbers in mathematics. Okay, so in mathematics, your numbers either have a fractional part using a dot, or it does not have a fractional part, like an integer. So exactly the same. So let's do the simplest example here. So let's say system dot l dot print line. Okay, I do want a new line. Okay, so now simplest one. Let's say I want to do an integer. Let's say 23, for example. Okay, if I simply want to print this out, so 23 is actually a numerical value. Okay, so if I simply say run 23. Okay, this one is not so interesting actually. This one will be interesting. If I say, let me try to see. If I say 23 plus 45, okay, let's see what happens. 68. So somehow Java treat this as a mathematical operation. So when you say 23 plus 45, Java is going to evaluate this addition here, which will be 68, and then prints out the result. Okay, to convince you even more, what about this? So let's say 23 plus 45 minus 1, for example. Okay, if you do that, 67 rather than 68, right? So that's how you do numbers. Let's say if you simply see 67, it's actually not very informative. You want to know what this 67 is. This actually comes from some kind of mathematical operation. So let's make the message more meaningful. So this is where we have the strings value comes in. So now we want to combine both. So let's do a little bit better. Okay, what about I do this? I can say, so let's split into 2 lines. Okay, let me just get indentation a little bit better. Okay, so now system.out. And remember from the last class over there, we'd say, if you simply say print, that means you're doing the same line, right? So now we can do some message here. You can say 23, you can simply just do this. 23 plus 45 minus 1 is. See, because this is actually a string, so whatever you put inside a pair of quotes will be output verbatim. Now we're just trying to make the message that's output the concept more meaningful, more informative. Okay, so now if I say run the program, it tells me 23 plus 45 minus 1 is 67. Okay, easy, right? And exciting. Yeah. Not so exciting yet, actually. Is 67? Okay, try something for me. Can you do something similar? And if you go to page, it might be a good time to tell you the reference. If you can go to page 4, section 3, expressions there. So over there I said, basically all the standard numerical operators that you do in mathematics is supported in Java. So for example, you got plus, you got minus, you got times, you got divide. The only symbol that looks slightly different in Java would be the multiply. In mathematics, you simply say sometimes times, sometimes dot, right? In Java, it's always a star. Always the case. Okay? That's the only difference. There's another operator here, which I'm not sure you learned about. Did you learn about something called a modulo operator in the high school? So, for example, let's say if I do 10 divided by 3, I know that it's going to be 3 and the remainder will be 1. Okay? You have so this an operator in Java which is written as the percentage sign. If I say 10 divided by 3, it's going to give me the quotients, which is 3. If I say 10, it's called modulo, so it's also written in your handouts. I'll also talk about it on Friday. If I say 10 modulo 3, it's going to give me, rather than the quotients, it's going to give me the remainder. Okay, just to test you. So what about if I say 15 modulo 3? 0, good, brilliant, yes. If I say, on the other hand, 15 divided by 3, it'll be 5. It's like a 5 remains 0. Okay, it's easy. So for today, we're trying to use plus, minus, multiply, divide, and modulo. So just with these operators, you can do quite complicated number expressions already. Okay, so now one small exercise for you. So let me write it out in mathematics. You want to output that to the console for me, what the result should be. So my question to you is, what is, let's see, 23 times 4. Oh, actually, let me do this. Plus. And then, yeah, so don't copy yet. I'm sure I'm still thinking. I'm thinking on the fly, actually. So, what is the remainder? Yeah, got it. The remainder of 23 plus 4 divided by 5. Okay, so the answer I want to get is the remainder. Okay, that's my question. So your message can be whatever you like. So maybe you can tell me the remainder of this division here is some number. Okay, so the message itself, the string itself, it can be quite flexible. But the answer I want is the remainder. Okay, so there are 2 things for you to work on. You have to work on the string message, and then you have to work on how to write the expression in Java to calculate this. Okay, just take a few minutes, and then I'll write down the solution on the board on Eclipse. Just take a few minutes. Okay, just give me another minute, and then we can go over a solution together. Of course, you need some system.out.println. Either you can put it in the same print or different print. Maybe we can follow the same style as before. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have print and print line. So print here, I'm going to put some message here, and print line, I'm going to put some numerical expression here, like before. Okay, let's have a look together. Okay, let's do the easy part. So for the message here, we can say the remainder of, so 23 plus 4. You can either write it out, divided by 5. Since it's a message, doesn't matter how you put it, doesn't matter. Okay, and notice that I put a space here, so whatever result I get, there would be a space, right? So now this part here, okay, so it will be very, very similar to this. Okay, remember, if you simply put this expression here, let me show you. If you simply put 23 plus 4 divided by 5, that would not give you the answer you want. Let's see. First of all, what would be the answer if you just calculate it in your mind? Should be 2, right? Because 23 plus 4 will be 27. 27 divided by 5, you will get 5 remains 2. Agreed? Okay. So now this calculation here will not give you 2, because it's going to give you the quotient rather than the remainder. Okay, that's what I just said. So if you try that, it gives you 5, right? So it just gives you the quotients. Okay, the way to fix that is by using the modulo operator. Okay, rather than divide. So I can tell you that typically in the quiz or in the midterm, I like to ask questions like, if I change this to divide, if I change this to modulo, what's gonna be different in the outputs? That's the question I usually like to ask. Okay. I hope that's clear enough, right? Okay. What's gonna happen? Okay, good. So now if you try that, you're gonna see 2, right? And you can see a space over here is actually slightly more readable, right? Rather than without any space. Any questions so far? No? Okay, good. So now we actually learned about, building some, so by the way, this is also another thing for you to learn. So we have something called value. So value is something like 1, 2, 3, 23. So each one of them is called a value. We also have something called expression. Expression here. So typically, I will also talk about expression on Friday as well, just to give you some intuition. Typically, whenever you talk about expression, it's really about the combinations of different values using operators. So for example, 1 plus 2 would be an expression, okay? And also 1 plus 2 multiplied by 4 would be another expression. You can see this expression here, we are trying to combine the two values using the addition operator. And over here, first of all, we combine 1 and 2 using plus. And then whatever the result is, we're going to combine that with 4 using the multiply operator, right? It's like a different levels of combinations. So it can be as complicated as you want. So that's something called expression in Java. Okay? Is that okay? Good? Yeah. Okay, so that's good. So let's do something interesting here. Let's just follow, actually for this one, let's just do what's written in the handouts, and we'll see if we got anything interesting. Okay, so now I would say the lines below are from the handouts. Okay, let's just follow one by one. So for you can see in section 1.2 of page 2. Let's just do one by one. So system.out.println, and if you like, you can simply just copy this, so you don't have to keep typing. Okay. Okay. And let's see how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we got 9. Okay, just save some typing. Okay, the first one we have something like this. Number 1 is This one is actually very easy, right? So you can see, well, it's actually written in a slightly different style. Rather than having print and print line, we actually combine message and value on the same print statement, right? That will also work. So we say number 1 is the value of 1. Okay, this one's easy. So if you run, okay, let's just try that. There's another thing that'll be useful. Let's say we want to now focus on these statements here. So we want to somehow ignore temporarily the previous lines of output, because let me just try to write a program to illustrate what I mean. If I have this, I want to focus on this line onwards only. So somehow I want to temporarily disable these outputs. So how do I do that? So the easiest way, maybe you're thinking about it, is simply to put, we said to put these lines in comments. How do we do that? Okay, let me show you how to do that in Eclipse. So the way to do that, okay, just highlight the sections you want to forget about temporarily. But you do not want to delete them from the files because you may want to put them back later. So just temporarily, you want to comment them out. So you will go to, I believe, source, and then, okay, there we go. Okay, let me show you again. Highlight the section you would like to comment, and then go to source, and then say add block comments. You see what it does? Somehow, it adds the star slash and the slash star for you. So now this part of the code, as you can see, now it becomes green. So this part will not be executed by the computer anymore. Right? You can see what I'm doing. Yes? Again, sure, no problem. Okay, let's say currently this is not in green. Right? I want to put that into comments. Select this section here. Select that. Highlight the section. And then go to source. And go to add block comments. Okay, and also on your machine, they'll also show you the shortcut key, which you can also try. Okay, but typically I just go for source and then add block comments. Okay, if I do that, I say add block comments. Okay, and then save your file. So now this will be ignored. So let's see if that's the case. If you try to run your program again, you will see that number 1 is 1, and the previous output is gone temporarily. Let's say I want to have this block back. How do I do? Select the original block over here, go back to source, and say remove the block comments. If you do that, it's now back. It's very convenient, right? So there might be something you want to try yourself as well. So, but for now, I do want to put them into comments, so I just undo. Okay, just put them so we can focus on these lines over here. Okay, so now run the program again. So now we have number 1 is 1. Not very exciting. So now the next one. Okay, so okay, I'm not sure why I had that, but so number 2 is just 2. Okay, this one is also easy. I wouldn't even bother showing you the output yet. So now the next one. So now what we have just worked on so far are simply the integers. But the way to write fractional numbers are exactly the same as in mathematics. You just say, for example, 1.2, 2.3, 23.14, etc. Okay, so let's just try that. So let's say the message part will say number 1.2 is 1.2. Okay, and let's do another one that's interesting. Let's just run the program to see what happens. Okay, so number 1 is 1, number 2 is 2, number 1.2 is 1.2. Right? Easy. Let's try a slightly more interesting example. What about pi? Pi is, and if you remember from your high school, that's as far as I can remember. Okay. I'm not sure. Maybe you remember even more digits. No,
it's long enough.
Okay, I'm sure. Yeah. So do you remember up to that long, or just 3.14?
3.14.
Oh, okay. Okay. Back in my high school, I think it even forced me to remember even more digits. Yeah, what's the point really? Okay, so pi is this. Let's try to run the program again. You have, yeah, exactly that. Okay, so now let me give you another example. This one will be very interesting. Oh, by the way, let me just leave this just like that. Okay, I'm gonna show you later on what this will do. But let's do the following. If I do number 1 plus 2 is 1 plus 2. Okay, this one's very interesting, so please pay attention to this one. So now in the message part, I said number 1 plus 2 is, and then here I said 1 plus 2. Okay, so what would you expect the output to be? Now you see number 1 plus 2 is space, so that part will be output verbatim is what? Is what? Sorry, I didn't hear. No, please say it out. Just 1 plus 2. But you can see the 1 and 2 here, they are not in the quotes. So they will be treated as numbers, right? Okay. So anyone else? This one is a bit tricky. Okay. Anyone else? 12. Why 12?
Because it is, it won't be isolated by the formula, so it's just thinking as 1 and 2 as the string, so it's going to be 1 and 2.
Okay.
So
okay.
It's going to be 12.
Okay. Did you program Java before?
No, I don't know a little bit about C program.
Okay, C programming. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Anyone else who want to speak their opinion? Anyone else? Although I would expect to see number 1 plus 2 is 3. That makes more sense rather than 12, right? First of all, let me show you what the output is, and then we'll discuss that. Okay, for that one. Okay, by the way, you can see after pi is 3.14, blah, 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 there is a new line over here. This new line here comes from system out of print line without anything. So just a new line. Okay, that's another thing for you to notice. Okay, so now let's go back to the output here. Let me just run it again. You can see number 1 plus 2 is 12. Isn't that funny? Yeah, number 1 plus 2 is 12. Okay, so what? So exactly what? So what's your name? Dongha. Okay, I'll try to remember Dongha. So what Dongha just said was somehow. Okay, first of all, do you agree that this is a string, right? This is a string. Somehow Java thought because you have a string here and you have a plus over here, so they would think this plus is actually a concatenation rather than addition. That's a problem. So now Java is treating 1 here as like a string, although it's not in quote. It basically is going to output the value of this 1 here as a string. And also it's going to treat this plus here as concatenation as well. Okay, so it's also going to output the string value for number 2. Okay, so how do we fix that? The way to fix that is a bit ugly, but I'll show you. Okay, so you can compare. So now, the way to fix that is simply by adding parentheses here. Okay, let me try to explain to you why adding parentheses will work. First of all, let's make sure it's really working. Okay, you can see now it's now 3 rather than 12, right? So let me just fix the comments quickly. So you should say number 1 followed by number 2. Okay, so this will be actually a little bit more accurate. So number 1 followed by number 2 is 1, 2. Okay, you shouldn't understand that it's 12. It's like a 1 and 2. Okay, so now think about back in math. This is how it works. If you have 2 plus 3 times 4, what's going to be the result? 14, right? Yeah. Are you sure? Really? Are you sure? Yeah, it's 14. Yeah, that'd be confidence. Yeah, 14. So because we know that, because somehow you have to do multiply first before you do plus, how can we force the evaluation to go to say, I want to do 2 plus 3 first? Parentheses, exactly. So we're going to say 2 plus 3 times 4 is equal to whatever, okay? Doesn't matter. So now, this is exactly what's happening here. So somehow, we want to force the Java to look at 1 plus 2 first by itself. So 1 plus 2 now, there's no any double-quoted string. So 1 plus 2 will be treated as just like numbers. And it's going to evaluate 1 plus 2. And it's going to be 3. So that's why this part here will be 3. And now, when we reach this plus here, again, plus will be concatenation. So it will be this message here concatenated with the result value of 1 plus 2, which would be 3, right? So this kind of like tricky example, that's why I show you both versions. So you should really know why. One works, but the other one doesn't work. Questions? Okay, yeah. Okay, let's go on. And let me do another one. What about we take a little quiz over now? No, it's not graded, of course. Okay, so now tell me what should be the answer. I'll just say output is, okay, if I say one, yeah, actually, if I give you this comparison, so the answer should be quite obvious, but I would like to know. So tell me what should be the output from line 19 and line number 20. You can see the only difference is now I got parentheses around for the second one, right? For the line 20, right? So tell me what the output should be. Which one?
For line 19, its output is 3.14, 3.14.
It's one single string, right? 3.14 and 3. Yeah, very good.
And for 20, its output is 6.28.
Very good. Yeah, agree. Okay, very easy, right? So once you understand why we actually got these parentheses here, then it's gonna work. I would say it's only tricky when you only see this one here without seeing the parentheses version, right? So yeah, I agree, but just something to note. Very good. So Jabin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So if I run it, exactly what Jabin said, so 3.14 and then 3.14. And the second one with the parentheses will be 6.28. Okay? Any questions about this? No? Okay. Okay, let's go on. So I think that's about the numerical values. Okay, I believe so. Okay. So now you can also, so it's still slightly different from what I put on the handout. So you can just take them as exercise when you go home. Just try them out to see what the output is. But the thing I'm presenting here is also recorded, so you can try both. Okay, so now I think we'll move on to the next section, which is even more interesting. So now we're moving to section 2, page 3. Okay. It's called the types and variables. Okay, I will just brief. Let's see. Okay. So first of all, let's as usual, let's create a new class first, and then we'll go from there. Okay, let's right-click and then new class, and let's call that numerical values. Numerical values, and then we're going to check to produce, generate the main method. Oh, yeah, sorry. Numerical, sorry, I think what I meant to say was, I was looking at the wrong page. Let me just double check. Variables, yeah, sorry, just variables. Just variables, okay. Okay, so now we have a new class called variables. And you may get rid of the MP line if you like. And by the way, there's something that is not part of the syntax, but there's something like a style recommendation for you to follow. Okay? I will also try to give you more examples in later sessions. There's something called indentation. Okay, what does indentation really mean? Let me show you. For example, you can see, so now in the beginning of this file here, we have the line public class variables. And then we have the curly brackets. And you can see there's a closing curly brackets here, right? It's like a complete definition. And now, under this class here, we have something called the main. Okay? Some of you might simply just do the following. You can see you actually simply just put things like this. It is not considered as a good style because somehow the main method there belongs to the variables class. So whenever you but now they are put at the same level. So that's why it's not a good style. Okay, so what you should do is, because this main method here is actually one of the components of the variables class, so you should really put some indentation, like a tab. That's what you usually do. Like a tab here. Okay, and also similarly, when we do the hello world, if you say system.out.println, okay, let's say hello world. The reason that we also put a tab over here is because now system.out.println is also one of the components of the main method. So we got 3 levels here. We got a class, we got a method, and we got a print statements. 3 levels. So whenever you go one level deeper, you have to put an indentation on the tab. Okay? Of course, the program will still run absolutely fine if you simply have something like this. This will also work. Even you don't bother with this, you can put everything into a single line. That will still work. Okay? Actually, I have seen people actually do this program before. I'm not sure how they can understand that. So what I'm trying to say is, try to follow the indentation rules. I believe maybe in the textbook, they actually show you some indentation rules for that. Okay, try to follow them. As far as the computer is concerned, they don't care if you put any new line or put any indentation or not. But of course you care. You want your code to be as readable as possible, right? Okay, let me just do that. Okay, second level and third level. Okay, so this closing brackets belongs to this one here. Okay, and this one belongs to that. Okay, it's much better. Okay, but don't worry. Later on when I see your code, I'll try to remind you if you forget. So don't try too hard on that. Okay, so now let me introduce you to the ideas about variables. Okay, so before, let me show you something here. System.out.println. Okay, how about this? Let me just write something here. SUNY Korea 1. Let me just make it a little bit longer. Okay, SUNY plus SUNY space plus, okay, SUNY plus space plus Korea plus 1. Okay, let's do this first. And then I'm gonna have, so it will be SUNY, oh, I want a space as well. Let me just do it again. Okay. SUNY Korea 1. Okay, that one should be no surprise to you. Okay, let's say I would like to do SUNY Korea 1, SUNY Korea 2, SUNY Korea 3, up to, let's say, SUNY Korea 5. Okay, so what would you do? Somehow, you have to repeat kind of the same line over and over again. Okay, let's say you're not allowed to copy and paste, but now I'm allowed. Okay, let's say you're not allowed. You actually have to type kind of the same strings and repeat them for 5 times. you got to repeat Sunni for 5 times. You got to repeat white spaces for 10 times. You got to repeat Korea for 5 times. And then somehow the value here will change from 1 to 5. Agree? Okay, let's try. Okay, Sunni Korea 1 up to Sunni Korea 5. Okay, that's also what you learned from the previous exercises. This is not so convenient because somehow you're repeating the same string Sunni for many times. You're repeating the same string like white space for many times. You're also repeating the same string Korea for many times. And somehow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they are like a counter that you're trying to keep track of, right? So it will be a better programming style if somehow you can group them together. The way we group them together is by using variables. Okay, so I'll just show you about, again, I will do a more systematic introduction on Friday. So, what is really a variable? Okay, I also put introduction on the variables on section 2. You can also read it when you go home. I'll just show you how you can do that. Okay, so basically a variable is like a placeholder. You want to store something in the placeholder. And because we just talked about strings and numbers, so there are 2 kinds of placeholders you can do. You can either do a number placeholder, or you can do a string placeholder. But in Java, we don't really say placeholder, we say variable. So you may have a string variables, or you may have a number variable. And for number variable, you also have integer variables. You may have fractional number variable, right? So you got 3 kinds. Okay, let me show you how you can do variables in Java. Okay, so also I explained that in detail on the handouts. You can also read. Okay, how do we do that? So let's do a string variables first. So the way we do the variables is by something called declare variable. So we declare to say, now we're declaring this a new variable called something. Okay, declare a new string variable. Okay, how do we do that? So there's a keyword in Java. So this is some word you have to remember. Whenever you want to declare a string variable, you have to use string, and the S should be capitalized. String, and now it can be any name you like. Let's say S. Let me just say that, and then semicolon. Okay. So now what does this line do? So in this line here, we're doing 2 things. First of all, we're declaring 2 things. We're declaring that there is a variable whose name is S. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we say this variable S here is always going to store a string value, but not numbers. Okay, there are 2 things we declare. That's also set in your handouts. Maybe I'll write it down for you. Okay. Declare, okay, let me change this a little bit. First, S is a variable. And second, S stores string values only. 2 things. Okay? So all, and the kind of value that a variable stores is called its type. So I also talk about types on Friday. So now you can see you always put the type first and then the name of the variable, followed by that. Okay, the type and then the name of the variable. And the name of the variable can be any name you like, as long as they don't clash with any of the existing keywords in Java. For example, you cannot say string class. You cannot say that because class, you can see what in Eclipse, everything that's in red is actually a keyword, which means those words have already been occupied, so you cannot use them. Okay, but as you get more experience, you will know what keywords you should really avoid. Okay, okay, let's say S here, and there is a convention in Java for variable name as well. So let's say we would like to do a variable called a name of a person. That's sort of the convention in Java, okay? Let me maybe explain that a little bit. So name, if you simply write it out in English, you would say name of a person. That's how you do in Java, right? But the variable name, that's how you do in English, just normal essay. But in Java, you cannot put this as a variable name because there are white spaces, which is not allowed for variable name. There should not be any white spaces. The most intuitive way of doing this is simply say combine the name of a person. Okay, but it's not really readable unless you can very easily parse, the different parts of the words. So this is so-called a compound word in English, and Java convention is the first word in a compound word will remain to be lowercase, but starting from the second one, you're going to capitalize the first character. Okay, that maybe sounds a little bit complicated, but let me show you. So the first word is name, and the second word is of. So you're going to capitalize the first character of. So you can see O here is actually in uppercase, right? And then A, just single character, just capitalize that. And also person, just capitalize the P. Just a convention in Java. Try to follow that, of course. Try to. Yeah. Of course, if you actually write something like this, it's up to you. If you say name of a person, it will still compile, but it's just not very readable. Okay, just a convention. So name of a person. Okay. So now let's go on. So this is so-called decoration. Okay. And now there's another thing that's very important. It's called assignments. Not the kind of assignment you'll be given to do. Assignments in Java world means you're trying to change the value of the variables. And because from the name variable, whenever you talk about variable, which means the value might change, right? So in this case, whenever you want to change the value of a variable, you try to do assignments. Let me show you how you can do it. Okay, so you might do name of a person. To do assignments in Java, you do a equal sign. Okay, and now because it's a string variable, so we have to give some name in like a string value. For example, you can say Jonathan, for example. Okay, so far so good. So we are saying that because we know that from the declaration here, name of a person is actually a variable that's going to hold string values only. So that's why we can assign a string value, Jonathan, and store that into this variable here. So that's what this equal sign is doing. Yeah, this is called assignments. Yeah. Okay, so now let's try to see this. So if you say system.out.println, and now let me try to show you two things. This one you should know, you just output Jonathan. But now if you say system.out.println, if you say name of a person, okay, so you can see rather than giving the string value, I give you a variable name. So what this would do is it's going to look up what's currently being stored in the variable and then give you that contents. And that should be Jonathan as well. Agree? Okay, so let's have a look. So now if you actually run this, so let me just put this part into comments, okay, just to avoid any distraction. Again, select that and go to source and add block comments. Okay, so now name of a person here. Okay, let's run it. You can see Jonathan and Jonathan. So this Jonathan here, the first Jonathan here, comes from the string value Jonathan here, right? And the second Jonathan there comes from the contents of name of a person. Okay, let me do something for you, and now it will really illustrate the points. So now let's talk about it's something called reassignment. So if you say name of a person, the same variable we are talking about now, rather than Jonathan, is going to store Jim. Okay, this now comes to critical points to understand. I'll scroll up a little bit, maybe. Okay, So now compare line 19 and line 15. Line 19 and line 14. 14 and 19 here, first of all, we are using an equal sign. We're doing the assignments to the same variable called name of a person. However, we are trying to store different values into the same variable. You can only store one value at a time to the same variable, but at different points. So now, let's do something interesting here. So you understand this part, this line here, I can delete that, or I can put that in comments. Okay. So now, if I just do exactly the same line over here, okay? First of all, you can see that line 16 and line 20, they are exactly the same. Well, is the output going to be the same? Are the output going to be the same, or they're going to be different? At the time we actually try to execute line number 16, what would be the value that's stored in the name of the person? Jonathan, right? Because of line 14. Now, when we reach line 20, that means we would have executed line 19 already. So now, the contents of this variable here has changed from Jonathan to Jim. Agreed? Okay, that's why if you try to execute the same print statement, it's going to give you a different value. Okay, that's why I said the variable can change its value all the time at different points. Oops. Let's kill myself. Okay, good. If you run that, you can see Jonathan and Jim. Agree? Okay. So that's about variable, very easy idea. So let me recap about the variables. Whenever you want to say in Java that you would like to have a placeholder for some particular kind of value, either a string, an integer, or a fractional number, first of all, you have to declare the variable. And there are two parts of the declaration, two parts. First of all, you have to say what's the name of the variable. As long as the name does not clash with any existing keywords in Java, you're okay. And there is some naming convention to follow for the variable name, okay, as I just said. Okay, try to follow that, but I'll give you more examples in the lecture, in the lab session. That's the first part, the name of the variable for declaration. And the second part to declare would be what kind of value you want to store for the variable. You can only what kind of value you would like to store for the variable. You have to commit, you have to fix that type at the time of declaration. Because once you say in line number 11, name of a person is going to store a string, you cannot change that. What do I mean? Let's say we do the following. If you say name of a person is assigned to 123. Okay, try that. And notice that in line number 22, there's a red line. There's something red underline. There's something like a funny line on the bottom of 123, right? So you actually have some error. Okay. So if you actually move your mouse over the red line over there, it says that type mismatch cannot convert from int to string. Okay. Remember on Monday's lecture, I said typically if you don't have any syntax error, you might have something called a type error. So this is one example of the type error. So what's really the type error here? On line number 11, you declare that name of a person variable should store string value only, and this is fixed. It can never be changed. But now, in line number 22 here, you're trying to store something other than a string value. You're trying to store a number value into a string variable, so you have some mismatch over here. Is it clear? Okay. So that's why we say there's a type error. Okay, you're storing something that's incompatible with the declared type of the variable. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so let me put this in comments. I'll tell you that this line will produce a type error. Okay? Are we good? Any questions before I do the final exercise today? No? Okay, you guys are doing great. That's good. And before your very first quiz, you still have Friday, you still have Wednesday, you still have the office hours. So do feel free to come to talk to me if you got any confusion. Okay? So something like this will be covered in quiz 1. Something like this. But you still have time. Okay. So now I would like to do a final thing for today. Okay. So now I would like to, I'm not sure if this is going to work, let me try. If I simply select this block here, and then I say source, add block comments, okay, good. So I comment this part out. I would like to go back to this SUNY Korea business over here. So select this block here, and then uncomment that. So select that and say source, remove the block comments. Okay. If I run it, it's going to say SUNY Korea 1, SUNY Korea 2, etc. Okay, so now I'm more focused. So now that we understand the idea about variables, okay, so now I would like to write just another fragment of Java code which will make use of the variables, and its output is going to be exactly the same as from lines 4 to 8. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that, but you can think later why they are producing the same output. But somehow you can see that, as I said before, we are repeating the string value SUNY for 5 times. We are repeating the string Korea for 5 times. We are repeating the string white space for 10 times. And we're also changing the counter value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Right? So how can we do? How can we save out? Do another version that will actually be much easier. Okay, what we need is we're gonna have a string variable here, just call that SUNY. Okay, that doesn't really clash with any keywords. And now, so this part here is called decoration. We're saying SUNY is actually a variable that's going to store string value. Okay, and we're going to assign that to some value here, just SUNY. Okay, SUNY here. And then we're gonna have another string variable here, Korea is equal to Korea, and then I'll just say space. Okay, you can call that whatever you like, just a white space. And then now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's make it an integer. Let's make it a number operator. A number variable. Okay, the way to declare a number variable here, I'll talk about it in more details on Friday, is by using a keyword called int. Int in Java stands for integer. That's something you should know. Okay, so we declare the type, and also what about just, you can say counter maybe, and let's say the first initially the counter is simply just 1. Okay, so now if I would like to produce the same output as this line here, what I would say is, let me just copy that line. So rather than saying SUNY, I'll say SUNY here, right? Rather than writing out a white space out explicitly, I'm going to say space. Rather than saying Korea here in the quotes, I'm going to say Korea. Again, space, and then counter. Agree? Okay. And now let me simply comment this block out. Okay, so I'll get more focused. Okay, if I simply run the program here, SUNY Korea 1. Okay, that's by using the variables. So now, how can I just write another print statement, but I will output SUNY Korea 2? Let's say copy and paste is allowed. How would you do it? Okay, let me just give you so that's the whole line here. Let's say copy paste is certainly allowed. What would be the change you have to introduce in order to print out SUNY Korea 2? Change the value of counter to 2, okay, and then repeat exactly the same line, right? Very good, let me show you, very good. So now, first of all, because counter is actually a variable, so its value might change at any time. So now we're gonna say counter is equal to 2, okay? And now we're going to repeat exactly the same line, exactly the same. Now, SUNY hasn't changed, space hasn't changed, Korea hasn't changed, only the counter value has been changed to 2. So now if you run it again, you will see SUNY Korea 1 actually comes from this print statement here, but the counter value at that point is actually 1, right? And the second SUNY Korea 2 comes from the fact that we changed the counter value from 1 to 2. Everyone follows? Follow? Okay, good. So now you can now imagine I can simply do the following. And 3, 4, 5. Did I have 6? No. Okay. You can see the only thing we are changing now is the counter value. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The advantage of doing this second version here is we do not have to repeat the string values all the time. We can just use the variables. And whenever we feel the need to change the value of the variables, let's say for counter, we can just do that right before we print out the message. Okay, let's try that and run it. SUNY Korea 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, any questions for this exercise? Okay, so before Friday, I would say you would be your best. You'll be best prepared for Friday's lecture if you can just go over all the things I write in Lab exercise 2. I talk about string values, I talk about expressions, talk about numbers, and I also talk about how you can do the variables, the declaration, type, etc. It's actually explained in very much detail here. Try to read them through, understand them, so you'll be prepared for Friday's lecture. We're going to repeat every point will be on Friday, but it'd be nice if you can understand them beforehand. Okay, and then if you have got any question here, there will be an office hour on Friday from 3 to 5. Or send me an email. Okay, I'm going to post the video later tonight. Okay, if you have no questions, and you are free to leave.